Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to this first of hopefully many video tutorials on up and running with penetration testing. I don't even know what I'm going to name these series, and I don't have a cool name that I have to share with you guys. But the purpose of this video is for the initial configuration of Virtualbox, your virtual network, and Kali Linux itself. And I'm trying to keep it as short as possible, within 10-15 minutes. And we'll go from there. All right. So the very first thing is, why do we need VirtualBox? Why can't we just install Kali Linux on our machine? And why, some of you might be thinking, can I just dual boot? Well, the main issue with that is, no, there's no issue with that whatsoever with dual booting. However, I feel like this is a friendlier atmosphere to run multiple virtual machines at any given time. It's really easy to set up a target machine and an attacking machine. And additionally, on top of that, you have, as long as you have the right resources in place, it's a very, very, very conducive to the educational pursuit of penetration testing. Now, why VirtualBox? Now, VirtualBox, I like to use it as opposed to VMware because, well, it's very friendly to configure. It's fast, and that is it. And I have no other reason why to move on to any other virtualized environment. So I'm sure sooner or later, if I find a reason, I will do that. Now, over here for VirtualBox, head on over to virtualbox.org. You will be presented with, actually, you know what? If you move on over to virtualbox.org, you'll be presented with this page right here. Just go ahead and download VirtualBox. Now, I have a mad suspicion that most of you guys are using Windows. Some of you guys might be using OS X, but just go ahead and download whichever platform conforms with your operating system. All right, once you're done with that, go ahead and download yourself the VirtualBox extension package, which gives you support for USB 2.0 and 3.0 devices, as in support for, you would say, like a virtual, not virtual, but a USB wireless adapter or something to that effect. It just gives you support to your USB interface. Okay, so you'd want to do that. On top of that, we also want to download Kali Linux. And if you go to Kali Linux over here, kali.org, we just go down over to the Kali Linux portion over here. Now, we are going to be downloading the Oracle Virtual Appliance rather than an ISO. So all of these are viable options to use if you want to install from scratch. However, for the sake of expediency, and in all honesty, it's just as good. I can just go ahead and go on over to where it says Kali Linux 64-bit VirtualBox. I'm going to assume that everybody is using 64-bit processor and operating system. Go ahead and click on that. Scroll all the way down to where it says Kali Linux VirtualBox images, and just go ahead and download this. Now, if you have a torrent client, you can download via torrent, or you can download via direct download, whatever your preference is. I can just go ahead and do this. Okay. Notice over here, you're downloading an OVA format. You are downloading an OVA format with the orange, well, actually with the orange sticky here. Actually, come to think of it, if you didn't install this yet, it might look a little different. Notice over here notice over here, if you do download the VMware portion, it comes out as zip format. You want to make sure you are using, no, that's not it. Use the OVA format here. It has to be .ova. If anything, you'll have to re-download 3 point whatever gigs, or in this particular case, 2.9 gigs. Now, the order of installation, you want to install VirtualBox first, and I'm not going to go through this entire process with you guys because it's just a bunch of next. There is absolutely nothing you can mess up with this installation. Once you're done with VirtualBox, you want to double-click on this extension pack over here, and it will give you an installation process here. Again, install, next, all that good stuff. No configuration needed. Okay, once all that stuff is installed, what you'll want to do is here. Now, the easiest way to do this in any computer system is to just go ahead and double-click on this appliance, the Oracle Virtual Appliance, and you'll be prompted with a dialog to import it. Nothing fancy here is required, but you can just go ahead import the unit as is. Now, one thing, while this is installing here, one thing I do want to call out. Now, this is going to be a resource-intensive operation, essentially running multiple operating systems on one computer. Now, for me personally, my bare minimum RAM that I will use or I will require to run a virtualized environment is 8 gigs of RAM, just for user experience. It's not so sluggish. If you do have less than 8 gigs, it can work. It's just going to be, just be prepared to wait. Okay. As far as processor goes, or what I prefer with a processor is an i5 or i7 processor, and that should get you up and running. If you don't have, a very quick processor, if you're running an i3, maybe some of the i5s out there, it could be extremely slow and you can get very frustrated. So if you can get a computer or a laptop with minimum 8 gigs and an i7 processor, that will make your life a lot easier. It will make you want to do more stuff in these environments. Okay. Now let's see here. Now that we got this installed, we have this Kali rolling 2019, which is the latest version of Kali Linux as of 3 days ago, this December. We are now in December of 2019. This is going to be the last and final version for the year 2019. Now, before we start this up, what we want to do is go into settings here. Actually, you know what? Hold on. Let me take that back. Let me roll it back. One thing that we want to do first is to set up our virtual network. So let's go all the way up over here to File Preferences, and go to Network. Now let's see here. I can just go ahead and delete this network here, and I'll just show you guys how to get this all up and running. Now you can click on the red, or not the red, but the green plus button over here, not the red X, but you can create yourself a specialized network. Double click on that. You can modify it. For whatever you want. Let's just call this testing. Pen Test Lab 2. So let's just go ahead and say Pen Test Lab 2, and let's go ahead and change it up to whatever network we want. So let's see here, 10.0.0.5.0 looks good. 24-bit mask. That will give us 250 plus computers or IP addresses to play around with within this range. If you're going to be using something else aside from this particular network, just be aware. Use something within the private IP address space, as it would cause some of it may cause problems down the road if you're using a public IP address space. Additionally, on top of that, we want to make sure that we have our supports DHCP option turned on. So we have a DHCP server listening within the network. It will make our lives a lot easier when we're adding more devices to this network. Now, if we need to statically assign something, we'll have to do that within virtual appliance itself. This should be all set. Okay, this is all we need to have checked on here. Of course, enable networks turned on, DHCP turned on, IPv6. If you are using something with IPv6, feel free. This can be a dual stack environment. And additionally, on top of that, if you want port forwarding turned on, go for it. But in this particular case, I don't need that. Okay, so we're all set here. Pen Testing Lab. Okay, now let's go ahead and right-click on this actual image of Kali Linux, the one we just imported. Let's go on over to settings here. Going on over settings, let me just go over to the general settings. By default, the bidirectional shared clipboard, drag and drop are enabled, and they are bidirectional. This should be turned on. I'm not really big on the drag and drop. I can just go ahead and disable that. But the shared clipboard, meaning I can copy and paste from one operating system to another, from host and guest network, perfect. I like to have it turned on for the sake of expediency and convenience. Now, on top of that, what we also want to do is we also want to address the fact that we want to address that we need to associate or assign as much RAM as possible to the system without interfering with our own host system. Now, you want to go ahead and typically what you want to do is you want to go ahead and assign half of your RAM to this virtual machine. Now, that 16 gigs is a little bit overkill for me. So what I ended up usually doing with this is around 10 gigs or so, 8 gigs or so. That'll be just fine. The processor, now this is going to make a huge difference. I typically assign half of my cores to my virtual machine. Now, not every virtual machine is going to need 6 cores. Kali Linux, because it is going to be a pretty active virtual machine, will get half my cores with it because I use it for using things like Nmap, Wireshark. That is going to be pretty heavy and extensive in CPU cycles here. All right, on top of that, let's go ahead and move on over display. I have it pegged up all the way to 128 megs. It just makes the graphics a little crispier. You have a higher resolution. It just looks better. And if it doesn't look good, I'm not going to touch it. All right, so we're all set with that. No other settings needed. Okay, now the last and most important section here is going to be for the network itself. Now, notice it is in NAT. This is going to NAT from the interface that's attached to. If that doesn't make sense, maybe we can do some other video later down the road. But the setting that we want is NAT network. Now, in NAT network, I can go ahead and say, you know what, the lab or the environment that we created was Pentest Lab 2, Pentest Lab 2, and then we are going to attach to that network. Additionally, click on Advanced, and also for promiscuous mode, if you guys will be, you guys eventually will be doing packet captures on this network, so you might as well just allow VMs now and just be done with it. And there you go. That is the default configuration to get Kali Linux up and running. Now, before we do that, let's go ahead and test this out and go ahead and do a couple more configuration with this particular installation. All right, let's just double click on there, and it should boot up into Kali Linux 2019.4. Oh, that's pretty. Look at that. That's a nice splash screen. There you go. Okay, okay, a little bit different from 2019.3. Let's go take a look. All right, so the initial login is going to be root, and the password is going to be T00. Oh, T00. It's TOOR, which is root backwards. All right, looks like we are good right there. Let's go ahead and open up a terminal. Okay, on that here. All right, so that terminal is over there. Let's just make sure that we have an IP address like we anticipated. ifconfig or interface configuration. Looks like we have 10.0.0.54. 10.0.54 is our IP address. We do see a 24-bit mask as we configured. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and set up ping google.com. See if that one went through, and we should be all set. It's working just fine. By sheer fact that it was able to ping google.com, I know DNS is working fine, and I know how IP connectivity. Fantastic. All right, additionally on top of that, one of the very first things that we want to do is change the default password. Passwd is the command that we are going to use. Passwd will prompt you for a new password. Okay, great. Password updated successfully. Now I just need to use my new password to log into the system. All right, on top of that, let's go ahead and do a couple of things here. Let's throw a couple commands. I know they're going to be working just fine, but let's see how much memory we're using. Free memh, give us a human readable format for how much RAM we're using in megabytes. All right, looks like we are good. We have 9.8 gigs of RAM total. 9.0 is free, and looks like the operating system is using right around 500 megs of RAM just to be up and running. Okay. Again, ls USB shows me all my USB devices, which is nothing, but it does have a USB hub provided for our speed and extension pack, and of course ls CPU will illustrate or show the number of CPUs we have up and running. Now, this is the right processor, and it looks like I do have 6 CPUs running, as well, and numbered or enumerated from 0 to 5. Looks like we're all good. Okay, looks like we're all good with Kali Linux here. This is going to conclude our initial video with Kali Linux. The next video is going to show a couple more configuration with Kali Linux, as in what to do, making sure that you're updated with your system. And additionally, on top of that, if you're interested in installing another desktop like KDE or GNOME, please do let me know in the comments. All right, so that wraps up my very first video. Again, please like, share, and subscribe. Ring that bell because it will help me out somehow. I'm not sure, but that's what YouTube people say. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. And again, see you next time.